ऑल राइट सो वेलकम एवरीवन। एक और मार्केट रैप मेरे साथ है पंकज पांडे सर एंड मार्केट का थोड़ा सेंस बनाने की कोशिश करेंगे हम लोग सर से समझ के। सर आई थिंक आफ्टर अ वेरी गुड लॉन्ग स्ट्रीक वी फाइनली सॉ सम रेडिश शेड्स इन द मार्केट, सो व्हाट हैपेंड देयर सर?
I think yes. Hi, good evening, Vishu. See, if you look at last 3 weeks, markets have been doing very well, but somehow this global volatility sort of continues to catch up with us. And this is largely coming from the US because the verdict is still not out whether the US economy is in deep recession or mild recession. Because as and when the data sort of comes out, we see reaction in the market, especially in US. And on top of it, we have big players like Nvidia, which has been sort of volatile, and that has implications across. And I think our markets we have done very well for the past 3 weeks. So some bit of a correction at higher levels should not be a worry sign. So this week we have corrected 1.5%. And our sense is that going forward, 24,500 should act as a resistance for the market. And I think overall, I think good part is that we've seen a good amount of crack in the crude oil. And that is largely to do with the fact that somewhere down the line, the Chinese economy is really not sort of shaping up well. Market breadth also has been negative because we have seen mid caps and small cap index making new highs. So obviously some bit of a profit taking. And when you have times like these, typically the defensive name do well, especially the pharma and the FMCG are relatively doing better. I can't really vouch for IT in a similar breath. But yes, when the volatility sort of spikes, the defensives relatively do well.
Right, right. Sir, I think there's a lot of talk about the US pressure coming from US as well. We are talking about FOMC rates, we are talking about the elections. A lot of data points are being tracked from there. So, what's happening there in that area, sir?
So, US, lot of action is expected. So, obviously, I already spoke about the kind of volatility what we are seeing because of the jobs data coming out. Now you have a process, and that will have implications in terms of the kind of rate cuts what the Fed will do. Typically, the expectation is 100 bips kind of a rate cut. So if it is happening, say 25, I think one meeting probably they'll have to do 50 bips kind of a rate cut. And if this was not sufficient, I think you have U.S. elections in November. And there also, if you look at the economic policies of both the Democrats and Republicans is quite divergent. So while Trump is pitching in for a cut in the corporate tax rate, say from 21 to 15%, on the other side, Harris is looking to sort of increase it to 28%. And both of them are slightly different also in terms of the protectionist policies they are going to follow. And some of this is going to be, if you sort of look at, is going to make the markets volatile. So don't expect stability in the US market, at least for some months. I only hope that we don't remain as volatile as what we have seen. The way US is. Hopefully, with the domestic economy doing well, with crude on a sort of a downtake, we are largely far more better placed from a macroeconomic perspective. So our sense is that we are going to witness some volatility, not to the extent of what US has experienced.
Right, right, sir. Sir, coming back home, taking a step back, let's talk about India, and that too, when I say talking about homes, let's talk about housing finance. It's a big segment in India, of course, and with Bajaj Finance, Bajaj Housing Finance coming up with an IPO, everybody's talking about it. So, what's your view there, sir?
So Bajaj Finance has been the best retail NBFCs we have seen, and it's been a massive wealth creator. We've been tracking the stock for donkey years. Now, from their stable, we are getting an IPO of Bajaj Housing Finance. And so when you look at compared to the peers, they are obviously looking expensive. But Bajaj obviously gets a premium because of the fact that they have a very long history of being very capital efficient as a group also. I mean, including Bajaj Auto, if you look at, and they are very capable in terms of managing the risk also, and which is why Bajaj Finance, Housing Finance also has been managed in a similar way. So housing finance is the mainstay in terms of business. But besides that, they are also into other categories like, say, for example, loan against property, needs rental discounting, and some bit of a developer finance. The good part is that their NIMs is at 4% and ROEs are quite healthy. And which is why I feel that given the track record of the promoters and the kind of growth even Bajaj Housing Finance has delivered, this stock merits a subscription, and which is why our advice would be to sort of subscribe to the IPO.
Right. Awesome. Awesome, sir. So talking about loans, I think credit cards have also seen a tremendous growth in India. So could you tell us something about this trend? What is happening here?
So credit card, if you look at, see, worst is already there. If you look at, if you look at spend is good at closer to 20%. So that is about 2 lakh crore. But bulk of this is coming from the fact that you are getting new customers. So see, growth is somewhere about 16%. The card spend is sort of lower on a YY basis. And when you sort of look at larger players, so larger players have also seen slightly muted growth. And some of them, the likes of one, say for example, SBI card has actually sort of lost market share. And also, when you look at, there has been some bit of an impact on the asset quality also. And typically for credit card companies also, whenever the interest rate sort of inches up, the cost of funds for them go up. So our sense is that the worst is already there in the prices. SBI card was one of the pick which we had given at the beginning of this year that hasn't really sort of performed for the entire year. But that was given on the premise that in the second half we will see rate cut. So that is sort of delayed by a quarter. And now you're seeing this stock relatively doing well. And our sense is that that is the only sort of listed because most of the other companies, it's part of the bank. So from that perspective, worst is already there, and things are looking to, or things are expected to get better from the second half. So SBI card remains a preferred pick there.
Right. And sir, while we are at the topic, I think microfinance institutions have also been a big story in India. However, in the recent few times, they have been facing some stress. So what's the story there, sir?
So MFI last 2 years have been pretty good for them, but of late, if you look at, there has been stress in terms of asset quality, what they are experiencing. And as a result of that, what we are clearly seeing is that the growth has sort of come down. Which is why if you look at, we have seen a first sequential decline in their AUM for the June quarter. So from that perspective, we are seeing a decline there. And then I think there are some pockets where you see challenges in terms of, say, Haryana and Punjab, where there's an element of loan being forgiven. And that is sort of creating some bit of a challenge for them, whereas some states like, say, Uttar Pradesh and other Bihar are relatively okay. So I think after a good patch, I think these companies or this segment is slightly expected to witness a muted growth because asset quality is still sort of a key thing to sort of watch out for. And since companies are quite cautious on that front, the growth has taken a knock, and which is why if you look at most of the companies have started to sort of underperform. I think it could easily take 1 or 2 quarters for this segment to sort of come up. Till then, I think it is better to sort of avoid this sector at this point in time.
Right, right, sir. Sir, I think NBFCs and banks are also looking for parallel lending sources, parallel funding sources, and that's also because of some stress there. So what's happening there, sir?
No, I think the core challenge remains with the fact that the deposit growth is challenging for the banking, and banks are also sort of looking to sort of not really lend so much to the NBFCs. And then you have a demand from the infrastructure side to sort of lend. And which is why, if you look at right from NBFC, say, for example, Shriram Finance is looking to raise overall close about $1.5 billion. Initially, they'll raise about $300 billion. You have PSU banks, say for example, Bank of Baroda raising about 5,000 odd crores to the infrastructure bond. Same is the case with Axis Bank, with they're looking to raise closer to 4,000 odd crores. I think the challenge will remain for the entire system because everyone needs a deposit to sort of lend. Till that time, be it NBFCs or be it banks, they are looking to sort of source from wherever they get. And at this point in time, foreign money looks relatively better to tap.
Right, right, sir. Let's talk about something different, sir. Let's get to solar power, and I think that's also making a lot of waves in the news right now. And we've had a few reports on how we are progressing there. So could you shed some light on that?
Absolutely. I think one is, see, we have this mega vision of having 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity. And when you sort of look at historically, say between say 2017 and 20, we used to add about 7 gigawatts, and from there on things have picked up. So last 2 years, FY22 to 24, the overall addition was somewhere about 13 and a half gigawatt, and it picked up further in FY24 to 15 gigawatt. But the good part is that when you look at in the first half of this year, we have a calendar year, we have already added about 15 gigawatts. So you are seeing a continuous sort of a jump in the overall solar capacity addition. And as a result of that, solar is contributing nearly 57% of the entire renewable energy. So while you are adding capacity, it's not that the tenders also are sort of increasing. So if you look at, there is a 50% or 51% jump in the overall tendering, which has been issued in this first half of this calendar year to about 40 gigawatts. And there is a pipeline of about 104 gigawatts still. So I think solar is started to sort of take shape. That is what I would say. Initially, it looked like that when is this capacity going to come in? But I think capacity creation and installation has picked up in the first half of this year, and it is going to get better from here on. And I think overall, people are comfortable that this 500 gigawatt somewhere down the line, we should be able to achieve those kind of targets.
Right. Awesome, sir. Sir, I think auto also garnered some real estate in the news this week with auto numbers being out, and there was a government mandate about reuse steel in the auto industry. So, what are the stories around auto? What's happening in auto sector, sir?
So monthly volumes was not a great thing to sort of talk about, but I'll still sort of highlight. So two-wheelers continues to sort of do well. That is one segment where double-digit growth is expected. And within CV, buses are sort of doing well. Otherwise, again, in four-wheelers, typically all your SUV players are doing well, and which is why companies like Maruti is sort of struggling there. So no major surprises there. Tractor is also sort of seeing muted growth. But when you sort of look at the context also is not really great because you have a monsoon. There are some parts of the country where the monsoon is quite heavy. Then there was heat wave. Then there was heat wave in some of the parts of the country. So all of that has sort of impacted. And on top of it, you hear concerns in terms of inventory being at elevated levels. So it's a sort of a muted month to say from a auto number perspective. Some highlights, for example, Bajaj Auto did well in the two-wheeler space, M&M in the four-wheeler space, and Mahindra and or when you look at in the CV space, the buses as a segment has done well. So Ashok Leyland there has done relatively well. Now, on the recycling part, I think see auto sector consumes a lot of energy, and steel is another core cost for them because any auto requires steel, and which is why, with that in perspective, government is looking to promote a circular economy. So, whichever vehicles have been sold 20 years back, ideally they should get scrapped, and which is what the government is saying that you should be using 10% of the steel used there or recycled steel in your production. And this will progressively go up to 20% and 30% at a certain time frame. And so I don't see anything wrong with that. In fact, it is going to promote more of a scrappage of vehicles or the older vehicles. So from that perspective, we are looking at greening the auto industry in terms of making it less polluting and really raising it to the global standards.
Right. Sir, in the steel sector also, I think there has been some movement where I think we are standing at one at quite a few year lows. The prices are pretty low right now. And the government is also planning some moves against the Chinese import of steel. So, what is the story there, sir?
So steel, if you look at last 3 years, the prices are at or are at 3 year low. Prices have actually gone down below 50,000 rupees per ton, and that is largely to do with the fact that the China sort of continues to produce more. Last 6, 7 odd months, China has been looking to stimulate their economy. Now, recently, we are picking up that probably they are going in for some kind of a benefit in terms of loan rate cuts for the first and the second borrower. Till the time China continues to sort of overproduce, they'll keep on dumping, and which is what is the industry is facing a problem. But good part is that now the news flows have started to sort of turn positive. So the government is actively looking at the request of the industry in terms of putting some tariff barriers. Because see, if you look at the top five players as doubling their capex from nearly 30,000 crores to 50,000 or 55,000 odd crores, and which is where you need to sort of protect the industry. China has been a repeated offender in terms of dumping of not only metals but chemicals, a lot of other commodities. And not only India, a lot of other countries are also sort of looking to protect their industry. So I think it's a matter of time before we come up with this some kind of a protectionist measure. Till that time, the prices have really not done well. But our sense is that whenever these measures get taken, this is one sector where the risk reward looks attractive to us.
Right, sir. Sir, I think another big headline this week was Reliance making some waves in the energy. I think they have advanced chemistry cell battery storage ka some PLI scheme they have been awarded. So what is the story there, sir?
So Reliance after AGM has been sort of been in the limelight for quite some time. So they are already spending $10 billion on the new energy business. And in a step towards that, they won 10 gigawatt of advanced cell chemistry incentive worth about 3,620 odd crores. There were a number of players. So government initially had come up with a plan of awarding 50 gigawatt, and with the Reliance awarding of 10 gigawatt, they have already completed 40 gigawatt kind of a capacity. Slight bit of a disappointment for a company like Raja because they are also in the queue. But good part is that Reliance, the new energy business is sort of taking shape, and this news is a shot in the arm. So that way, I think Reliance within large caps is a stock which looks quite comfortable from a growth perspective. I think the company in the AGM already discussed and sort of spelled out that they are looking to sort of double their businesses in the next 4 years. So I think this news is definitely a step in that direction.
Right. Awesome, sir. Sir, and finally now the hidden gem of the week. What will it be this time, sir?
So I would recommend Kalpataru Power. See, power is one sector we are seeing a lot of spending ongoing. The proposed capex is also quite massive. So when you are spending too much on power, obviously the transmission and distribution sector is also expected to benefit. So Kalpataru Power is one of the leading EPC players there, and they've got an order book of somewhere about 57,000 odd crores. Last 2 years have been good, so they have grown their revenues by 16%, the profit by 25%. And I think order inflows have been pretty good. On top of it, they are looking to sort of deleverage their balance sheet. So they're looking to sell some of their Vindhyachal expressways plus real estate in Indore. Overall expectation is that they could garner somewhere about 550 odd crores. And I think with the kind of order inflows, what they've got, and also the international orders, so overall sense is that this company will sort of do very well going forward, and which is going to get reflected in better set of numbers. So we are expecting revenues to grow at nearly 24 odd percent. In fact, they can grow even more than that at 25%. And the bottom line again could inch up further to about closer to 47 odd percent because the margins is expected to sort of improve. and that would sort of lift their ROEs also to good double digits. So which is why I feel that this stock should do well with a target price of 1630.
Right, awesome. So thank you so much for that, sir. And thank you so much, everyone, for watching. We'll be back next week. In the meantime, if you have any questions for Pankaj, sir, please do put them down in the comments and we'll try to take them up next time. Thank you so much again, sir.
Thank you.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risk. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.